What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing right here in the center of the ring. I'm your host, Reckless Rex Ruger. That's the Alexis Arguello puppet. We got another kick-ass episode. This one is going to be good. This one's going to be real fun. So let's get down to it, man, and chop it up. Got another great guest, another hard-hitting guest. Haven't talked to Danny in a while, but let's get down to it. Excited for this one. Looking forward to it. And we will get him in here. Momento, Danny.
Yo.
Good to have you on, man.
How you doing?
As you can see, I've evolved. Gone is the David Lee Roth hair.
I see that.
We all have to evolve, right, Danny?
Yeah. How you been, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing really good. Yeah, I've seen some of the boxing stuff you've been doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I've kind of segued into that, man. And I usually do it with my son, who has 4 kids of his own, so he makes the episodes that he can make. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he's got family commitments, so he can't always pop on here because the time he does an episode, his kids are at the door. Hey, so this is kind of cool. Well, first of all, man, let me say we talked a little bit offline before we did this, man, and you sent me that lost chapter, which was amazing, by the way. But I'm curious, man, in a book like that, when you're telling stories, and a lot of them are self-deprecating, that's the kind of humor that you have or whatever about your upbringing or whatever. How do you choose? Because that was a chapter that you didn't choose to include. How do you choose what makes the cut and what doesn't make the cut?
Well, that one didn't make the cut because my friend that recorded the audio book, he had a studio. He's actually a guitar player for Northside Kings.
Okay.
He's vegan. And and that story, as to the listeners that don't know, that story I talk about how I barbecue a lot and how I got this pig from this Yugoslavian mafia guy.
Yeah.
And like the story was just so crazy.
Yeah.
And he was like, you may get some bad feedback from people that, maybe don't eat meat. And
right.
I don't want to cower to everybody's going to like something different. But in the same token, I also didn't want to alienate a specific audience because of a chapter that was so crazy.
Right.
So I took it out, and I had it written up for the book as well. And I took it out of the written part too. So, in the audio book, the version you have for that book, To Make Matters Worse, there's a chapter that's not in the print book, and that's the chapter with my clubhouse in the woods and Elvira, Playboy, and the condom story.
Yes.
So that one I kind of wrote on the fly and recorded it like the day before. I wrote it the night before and just kind of freestyled that one. And you can hear a big difference between me reading the book and then me freestyling a chapter,
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I studied that thing like a Muslim studies the Quran. I know that book. I know that book inside out. I fall asleep to it many nights. And I think that, like I said before, I think that is a sign of a good book, though, because ultimately when you read a book at the end of the day, you want to be entertained.
Yeah. It's a lot of funny stories in that book.
And so when do you find out, or like when do you realize, man, that you have this natural gift for being like a storyteller, or like a gift for like, spinning a yarn?
I guess just like hanging out with friends and telling stories and really seeing a funny reaction from people, So I guess I could tell a good story. Some people can do that. And eventually I started writing them down, and that became my first book, that Don't Ever Punch a Rockstar book. And then, I continued. I'm going to make another book down the road eventually, like To Make Matters Worse, because there's a lot more stories that I have that I didn't put in there because I don't want to make the book too long either.
Right. I think that's key too. Right. Because the unfortunately, and I'm a voracious reader, but unfortunately, man, the attention span of the general population seems to have dwindled.
Yeah.
It is hard to keep people captivated.
Yeah, the audiobook version of that there was, and it's on Audible, but it's 160 minutes because it's 2 80-minute CDs. Put together. So, I'll probably eventually do another one. I have some ideas in mind for some of the stories. Thinking about calling it something like Stories I Should Probably Keep to Myself.
Yeah,
I got a really good one with where I met Sean Lennon. That's nuts.
Rob Lowe titled one. I think Rob Lowe titled his book "Stories I Only Tell My Friends."
Well, then I may need to change it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. Exactly.
I don't want you to get a cease and desist or anything.
Rob Lowe. I'm worried about him. Yeah, believe me, I'm at a different level than Rob Lowe.
So when do you get the where's the so I should probably rephrase that question though, outside of having a knack for telling the stories though, where does the confidence come from? Because obviously, and especially the book that I'm talking about, To Make Matters Worse, there's a lot of self-deprecating humor and a lot of pointing the finger at yourself, and some of it is quite humiliating and embarrassing, or like at least what people would perceive to be embarrassing, you know what I mean? Shitting mishaps, flatulence, episodes of bullying. There's a lot of stuff in there that is really self-deprecating.
I think my two favorite stories in that book, the one is the Guido pool party, where we attacked those guys with paintball guns.
Yeah,
they used to beat us up in school every day, and we went, and the whole running through the woods and all that. And I really like that one and the Frank's Chicken House one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I played in a band, and one of the things about playing in a band is being the front man. You kind of gotta like be able to talk to an audience, and communicate with it. I mean, listen, I'm good at telling a story, but I'm not good at doing stand up. I mean, I've tried it, a few times, it's not for me, I mean, some people just have a really good knack for it, and I can tell a good story, but going on stage and telling it to an audience sometimes is a whole different animal. So it just depends. I don't know. I've always been a guy that breaks balls and likes a good story, so that's where I came up with all that.
Well, and obviously a whole book was spawned, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up now that my podcast has kind of turned into a boxing podcast. You threw one of the more famous punches in music, and I know you don't like to completely bank your whole reputation on that, but the punch heard around the world is now 20 years old when you famously punched all 5'3" of Glenn Danzig.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? 20 years
the
ago.
Metal Munchkin.
I'm probably his age now when that happened,
Yeah.
Like, it's like Daniel LaRusso being the same age as Mr. Miyagi.
Right. Which, by the way, I do love Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I hate to see it come to an end, man. I really do. But so I saw on another episode or another podcast that you did, and I find this interesting. And then I had to go back and watch the punch heard around the world again, because you mentioned on there that not only did you hit him with a beautiful right hand, which I think a lot of boxers that come on here would probably be envious of, you did finish him off with the ass.
I did. So I put so much weight into it because I wasn't planning on hitting him that I hit him with my weight and the punch, and I just kept moving. And then as I kind of turned around, he got the butt to the booty to the head. So I got two hits on him. One with the ass cheek and one with the fist.
But obviously he's known in the music world though, and I don't like to run people down or disparage him much, but his reputation fucking seems to be that of a really big chode.
He's a bully, and that's the only reason why that people even talk about it today, because how many times people get into a fight and it's forgotten. I mean, there's kids I went to school with that I had fist fights with that I'm like great friends with today.
Right.
A fight is a fight. Sometimes you just move on, but he's built such a reputation of being such a prick.
Yeah.
That, like I said, I got my wife's name on here. I guess I logged into her Google.
And then you've also said before, though, man, that some of the guys in his band, though, man, are real sweethearts, like Jerry Only.
Yeah, or I don't want to mention another guy who's still in his band, but not a Misfits level, different Danzig level, who's is golden, and then guys that passed away, like Todd Youth, really great guy, so listen, sometimes people also do something because they're getting a good paycheck out of it,
Right. True. Yeah, that's true. So now you're making the foray into a children's book, which I absolutely love right here, though, man. I mean, this is great. And we'll go into that more or whatever, and finish off the episode with talking about the Kickstarter and how people get involved. But why a children's book now?
Well, I wanted to do something a little different. I mean, this is my 7th book.
Yeah,
I have 7 books out, which is nuts.
Crazy.
6 books right now.
Yeah,
and I've done a lot of different types of books. So I did 2 books that are kind of I guess autobiographical. I never said a word right. You know what I mean?
Autobiographical. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I fucking hate that word.
I
It's
know.
like it's like licorice. I can't say licorice.
I'm pretty sure that you should do it blows my mind about that word.
It may go into the list. Yeah, I got the 2 books, To Make Matters Worse and the Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star, with all the Danzig hate mail. And then I did a book on revenge movies. The Mega Book of Revenge Films, totally different.
Yep.
Then the It Blows My Mind books is kind of a comedy approach of things that annoy everybody, and between the videos that we do on a TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, this was like a different approach. I mean, Mick, the artist Mick, he's the guy who did both of the It Blows My Mind books as well. He's like my partner in crime. He's got 2 young kids, and he always wanted to do a children's book, and I'm like, I mean, you can see behind me, I'm like a giant kid myself. So I wanted to maybe see if I could do something that didn't have a bunch of fucking bad words in it. And you listen, how many kids' books are out there that you look at and they're just fucking miserable? I mean,
I know
people aren't making the books like when me and you were a kid, like where the wild things are, or the hungry caterpillar. I mean,
captivating.
Captivating. Between captivating art, between captivating stories. Not that Night of the Gabagool is fucking captivating, but the colors are bright. It's a funny story. And I don't have kids, but if I was a parent or I had to read a book to a child, I wouldn't want to read 95% of the kids' books out there. I'd want to read something that had a little something that I could enjoy. So that was kind of our outlook on doing this. Me and Mick discussed it, and we were pitching ideas back and forth. And one of the things we definitely stood on strong was, let's make sure that the colors are fucking popping. It's not some whitewashed fucking shitty looking colors that look like it was thrown in a washing machine 22 times.
Right.
It's a bright colors and a funny story to make people laugh, to make a parent laugh while they're reading it to a kid.
Yeah, I read to my grandkids, man. I don't know if you remember when we were kids, The 5 Chinese Brothers, which is which really seems to be a story of torture, and I can't even believe that it's a child's book. All they're trying to do is kill these 5 Chinese brothers throughout the whole book, which seems like, I don't know if it was put out in the 30s or the 40s, but seems so morbid.
Oh yeah, well, all that stuff is morbid. I mean, every expression is morbid. It comes from some horrible thing. One of the things in Night of the Gabagool, which I'll show the audience, this is the cover kind of looks like.
And the art is great and very reminiscent of something that would be like Garbage Pail Kids back in the days.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought, but long day today.
That's all right. So how do you get hooked up with this guy though? That's doing the illustrating. Yeah,
Mick did both It Blows My Mind books. Mick also has done probably 35 to 40 shirts for Murphy's Law. He did the Slap Shots album cover, the last album. He did the cover for it's not out yet, but there's a Murphy's Law Agnostic Front Split coming out. He did the cover for that album cover. I mean, band after band, Sick of It All, Sheer Terror. I mean, tons of stuff, Agnostic Front, tons of stuff for different bands. He did some Northside King stuff. We became really good friends, and we work really well together. Mick is he's in Australia. We work long distance, and thank goodness for that app where we could talk back and forth.
Because the time difference is vast. I've had people on here from Australia before, and it's like, you got to figure, man, that they're into the next day already.
We can't. It's not like we can, text each other either, because texting is super expensive. So WhatsApp has been a pretty golden thing for us, because we could send photos back and forth and designs and ideas. And he's also been to Arizona twice. He was just here.
Right.
We did a book signing for It Blows My Mind book 2. Right. And instead of doing a regular book signing, we had a show, and my old band Northside Kings got up and played 5 songs.
Right, you got to go out and find some promotional tool to promote the book. I'm actually having Eugene Robinson on Wednesday. He's out. He's just coming off. He's just coming off of a book signing tour himself. So
he's got Oxbow was. I think he left the band or something.
He did. Yeah. I don't know how much he'll want to expound on that, but he's a good guy to have on he's a good guy to have on a fighting show, because he's all about the martial arts and combat. He's written a book on fighting. So
he played in town, and I lived like 5 minutes from where he played, and something happened that week, whatever that day was, something at work, and I couldn't end up getting off, and I didn't end up going. I felt really bad, but yeah, he's a good guy, man.
He's the best. Yeah, he's the best. And so we'll get back to the book and talk a little bit, but you brought up all these hardcore bands, man, and I've done a bunch of episodes where I've had that's one of my favorite genres of music. I've had a bunch of hardcore punk hardcore musicians on here before. Do you think that the ethos, I know there's still young bands doing hardcore, but do you think the ethos and that working man mentality that I think of with those bands coming up on the Lower East Side and stuff, all the bands you mentioned, Gnostic Front Signal, you think that exists still today? I know there's bands doing hardcore, but are there bands doing that kind of hardcore anymore? Does that attitude exist in this generation?
I don't think they're as tough as a lot of those bands.
I would definitely say that. Yeah,
let's say that. But I mean, even in Arizona, we have so many good bands out here.
Yeah.
First off, there's a lot of old bands getting back together. Like Where Eagles Dare was a great hardcore band from Phoenix, and they're doing a show Within These Walls, I think it's called. There's a hardcore festival 2 days here in Phoenix, in Mesa, Arizona. They're playing. But new bands that are out, there's a band called Overstand, which is Todd from Warzone, the bass player, and Roy, who was in Roger Merritt and the Disasters, and Ben Barnes, tons of local bands. These guys have a great hardcore band. There's a killer band called Keeper that I recently saw that were unbelievable. Hard Luck is a really good hardcore band in town too. I mean, there's the genre is still going strong, and there's bands still touring and stuff. It's just, listen, it's so expensive to go on tour.
I know.
Can you imagine? Like, I mean, we could never afford to take Northside Kings on tour. I mean, we wouldn't get paid enough to be able to cover a tour, let alone, all of us in our 40s or 50s now. We got mortgages, kids, bills, jobs.
Sure.
I mean, it's hard to do. So, I really make a point that anybody that comes to town, that's why I felt bad about Eugene, anybody that comes to town to go to the show, and even if they hook me up, because sometimes a lot of bands I'm friends with, they'll put me on a list or something, I'll buy like 3 or 4 shirts and other things just to help the band out. Even if they don't got my size, somebody's getting a shirt. I remember Slapshot only had extra large the last time they came. They were out of shirts and extra large.
Getting regifted.
I bought it and gave it to a buddy. Here you go. I'm never fitting into this. So it's just good for you.
So I'm glad you brought up the book that you did about movies, man. So for people to get a little more of a glimpse inside of who you are, man, let me know. We're big sometimes in this show on asking the boxers their Mount Rushmore of all-time boxers or whatever, lists, this and that. What are 3 movies that everybody should see in their life? That they should not even call themselves a red-blooded American or a fucking human being if they haven't seen these movies. What are 3 musts?
First Blood.
First Blood. Okay.
Definite. Predator. I mean, that is like the ultimate guys action movie of all time.
Okay.
And listen, I'm gonna go with another Stallone movie, Rocky. I mean, you gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's people that I run into that haven't seen these movies. There's people I run into that haven't seen Goodfellas or have never seen a Godfather movie.
I know.
I know. And that generation and that age that we're at, and where these kids that are coming up, I mean, these are movies that, like, that were, to give a great example, when First Blood came out in like 82, if you were to look back at a movie that was 30 years prior, when you were a kid, were you going to be looking for movies that were made in the 50s, like fucking Sound of Music or shit like that? Casablanca? I mean, to me, they're movies that they should watch. But, they're now, these movies are 30, 40 years old. I mean, kids aren't going
to go back and rediscover them.
No, they don't give it. It's up to like parents. I have a friend, Tyler, that's a tattoo artist, and he's been on a journey showing his son all the classics like that. And when my niece comes out to visit from New Jersey, just this last summer, we watched Howard the Duck. We watched Can't Buy Me Love. She's a girl, so I showed her some kind of girl.
That's good parenting.
We watched A Little Shop of Horrors. I'm showing her all these movies that maybe not on our radar today, but you know, or the Dark Crystal, you know, Labyrinth,
Right,
you know,
right.
classics,
I'm trying to do that with my grandkids too. I just introduced them to the Karate Kid. We were just talking about some of the '80s movies, man. My granddaughter was gobbling up for the longest time, and she's only 6, gobbling up the Blues Brothers and gobbling up the Outsiders.
Yeah, yeah. My niece, I was very surprised, read the Outsiders book,
Yeah,
and she saw the movie, which
yeah.
that kind of blew my mind, you know.
Which is one of those things where, like, it kind of points to the fact that, like, you know, I mean, people could sit down and be authors if they really put their mind to it. That girl, when she wrote that book, was 14 years old.
Yeah,
You know, when she wrote The Outsiders. People say, how the hell can I sit down and write a book? I don't know. That girl found a way to do it.
I would love to go see the Outsiders house. That
Yes.
Danny Boy from House of Pain bought the
Yeah.
house and turned it into like a museum out there, and you can kind of recreated the look. And I would love to see that in person.
Now, did you have any musical heroes, man? Like, you know, who was your you know, what guy, you know, what was the bug that bit you as far as like music? Like, I mean, like, who were your first musical heroes, man? Who got you into wanting to do it?
You know, I would say Scott Ian from Anthrax, I thought was the coolest guitar player when I was a kid. And my break into heavier music, you know, I listened to like some Social Distortion or Violent Femmes and like pop rock and stuff in 5th or 6th grade. And all of a sudden, I got introduced to MOD, which I was still listening to Weird Al. So all of a sudden, there's this heavier band singing songs like "Don't Feed the Bears" and "Spandex Enormity," and I was like, "This is like a heavy Weird Al." And then, from there, it broke me into SOD, and then it broke me into Anthrax. So I was like, "Wow, this guitar player, he's in like 3 bands I absolutely love." Or it really wasn't an MOD, but early MOD was written by him. So, like USA for MOD, I think that was really Scott Ian that wrote that song.
Right.
But you know, that was like probably my launch pad, and then Suicidal Tendencies, man. And I've never seen them, which is crazy.
Me neither. And I'm always constantly looking, man. And it seems like the opportunity never arises. They're overseas a lot.
Yeah, and they've come through town. There's always been like I was out of town or something. And when I was a kid, I never got to see them. You know, they would come through, and there was always something going on. The Suicidal Tendencies, I would say, probably my top. Was it Rocky Dennis, the guitar player? It was probably one of my top favorite things. And I'll tell you, in 6th grade, you know, you get the school pictures. Well, my mom would like maybe wear the little alligator shirt. You know,
of course.
You know, well, 6th grade, I went to school and I fucking totally changed my shirt, and I put on the Suicidal Tendencies Join the Army shirt.
Yeah,
and it said Suicidal Tendencies on this one. The way it was printed, it was like all the way up by the neck. So there was no way they were getting it out of the picture unless the picture was just my head. And I wore that on purpose. And my mom got the pictures, and she was furious.
Nowadays, if you wore that to school, Jesus Christ, man, they'd probably ostracize you. I mean,
well, they airbrushed it in the yearbook.
Really?
So the yearbook, it's just a black shirt. They totally airbrushed the Suicidal Tendencies out.
Yeah, that was the lineup back then too. Like right around that "How Will I Laugh Tomorrow" era, man.
Yeah,
I mean they were really on. Yeah,
unbelievable. How Will I Laugh Tomorrow? Feel Like Shit, Deja Vu.
Yeah.
Join the Army. I mean, it was just they were incredible, man. Lights, Camera, Revolution.
Awesome.
That You Can't Bring Me Down. What a fucking song.
I know.
I would say that's probably one of the most perfect heavy songs. And another one I say to people all the time, and they laugh at me when I say this because I think it's perfect. And I'm not a huge fan of the band, but Megadeth, I can't remember the name of that song.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. The title's
They
eluding
did the
me.
video. They did the video for it on that Hangar 18 album or whatever the fuck that album was called. But that song and the Suicidal Tendencies songs, I gotta say, I probably don't. They had such changes in them, and you know, tempo changes, heavy to almost like a little acoustic, both of them, and they just crushed it. Fucking awesome, great song.
And when you were, you know, like when you were actively doing like North Side Kings, were you responsible for most of the lyrical content?
Yeah, most of the music too. I mean, Luke wrote songs himself as well, and he would write the lyrics for his songs. Um, if I wrote a song, I generally wrote the lyrics for it. We kind of did it like that.
And what
Once
was
in a
your
blue
creative
moon.
process like? What was your creative process like? Did you have to like be in a certain ambiance or a setting, or like when did lyrics come to you most? Like, were you like one of these like I got to go off and isolate and write, or you know, could you just be sitting there watching TV with the old lady and writing, or like, you know, I mean, what was your creative process like?
I have to be in quiet,
Yeah,
to write, but I don't like to sit down and try to write. It just got to come to me. If I try to write and I force something, it sucks. So for me, I get into a mode. Like when me and Nick did the new book, we were in that mode, and I was in that mode the whole time. I'm usually writing things, 3 or 4 different things at a time, because I'll come up with an idea for something and I'll start it, but I'll get a little stagnant with it, and then I'll move on to something else that I got more hype on, and I'll work on that, and then I'll come back to it. That's how, I mean, if I try to force something, I don't do well with it. But if I am in that mode, back then with Northside Kings, I was full of piss and vinegar. I mean, we were fucking crazy. I mean,
yeah,
I'm in a different mindset today. I'm older.
right,
I'm
right,
married.
right.
I'd rather smoke a cigar and watch Revenge of the Nerds than be all fucking angry. And back then, I was like an angry kid. I was furious, and I could. I had a different mindset. If I was to really try to write like a Northside Kings album today, that'd be kind of tough. I'd be like
Yeah.
faking the funk,
I'm pretty sure that after reading It Makes Matters Worse, I can see where the anger comes from. But you do say a disclaimer in the beginning of that book, though, man, that you did have, what you considered, awesome parents, a fantastic childhood, and a great upbringing or whatever, man. But, I mean, they were just mishaps, a lot of them.
Listen, I was just one of those kids, and I'm still today one of those guys that always falls into some kind of fucking crazy thing that happens.
Yeah.
If you can make light of a shitty situation or an embarrassing spot, then you got a good, as Bruce Leroy would have, a good glow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what that whole book is. I mean, listen, I'm telling story after story of embarrassing situations and crazy stuff, but I'm telling it in the sense of I look back at it now and I laugh about it.
Right. I mean, you're even writing about an era when, and again, it's like the changing of the times. I don't even know if anything like this would be even possible now. But you were even writing about the Scared Straight program, which I don't even know if they even truck inmates into schools anymore to scare the shit out of kids.
I don't think they do. And these guys were fucking crazy. They were from Rawway Prison in New Jersey.
Yeah.
This guy was missing an eye. His eyeball gone. And they took our shoes away and they fucking screamed. And my mother's only concern when I got home from school and I told her about it, she called the school and complained that what if my son lost his sneakers? Those sneakers were expensive. They're Airwalks. They were fancy sneakers.
Oh, Airwalks. You're really dating yourself now.
They took my Airwalks, man.
All right, so let me ask you a couple of these comparison questions. Don't even think, just give me the answers, Danny, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson.
Ramones or Sex Pistols?
Ramones.
80s hair metal, 90s grunge?
80s hair metal.
Yeah, I would be. Okay, I think you might have answered this one already, but because they got such a fantastic Bay Area thrash scene, we got to rep our East Coast ones too. Anthrax or Overkill?
Anthrax.
You thought about it for a minute, though, even though you said Scott Ian meant a lot to you.
You know what? I've been listening to a lot of Overkill in the last 2 weeks because Overkill's coming with King Diamond.
Yeah.
I got tickets to go see Iron Maiden with some friends, and I got tickets to go see Judas Priest. They're all like in the same month.
Yeah, all bucket list groups too.
I've got to do King Diamond because I've seen him play multiple times, and I saw Merciful Fate last year.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Overkill since I lived in New Jersey. It was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
so,
and Blitz is still just amazing front man, amazing. Bon Scott, Brian Johnson.
Bon Scott.
Pacino, De Niro.
De Niro.
I don't know. Now, this one might be a polarizing one. Agnostic or sick of it all?
Agnostic.
And by the way, for thoughts and while I'm on that, thoughts and prayers go out to Lou Kohler, who is going through some cancer issues right now, man. And of course, Roger's been through them as well. So I mean, you know, our hardcore icons, man. We got to take care of them, man.
Even though
Treasures.
I do have a sick of it all tattoo, and I don't have an agnostic front tattoo.
Elvis or Sinatra?
Sinatra, come on, no question. Elvis the dork.
Michael Myers, Michael Myers or Jason, the better slasher?
Jason's from New Jersey, man. He's a Jersey guy.
Oh, that's true. That's true. The more satisfying career moment for you, becoming a published author or punching Danzig?
The author.
Okay.
The author.
Okay.
I'll let you Danzig thing's funny. That's a funny
punching
one.
Danzig was and you know, because that's such a famous punch, man, is there anybody, and maybe you don't even want to name the name or whatever, but I mean, is there anybody in the entertainment business right now that you consider that has a punchable face? I wouldn't mind giving you know, I've looked at Bieber a couple of times. Wouldn't mind slapping him silly.
You know, I don't like the singer from the Sex Pistols. I just
Johnny Ryan.
I can't fucking stand them, and I like the Sex Pistols.
That's why you pick Ramones so fast.
Every time I see him on an interview, he's such an arrogant prick, and I get it. He's a punk rocker, but like he talks to people in these interviews so horrible.
I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, he's very condescending.
Very condescending. I don't think that if he was to talk to me like that, I'd fucking crack him in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I want to fight anybody else.
Right. Disclaimer.
But if I had to be in a room with that guy and he talked to me like that, I'd pick up a fucking chair, rack him over fucking head with it.
Yeah,
like he's
absolutely.
really disrespectful to people.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's punk rock. I think that's being a fucking cocksucker is what I think.
It is. Yeah. Now, I asked you about the movies or whatever. What about some albums that you think fucking kids fucking have forgotten about? But give me 2 or 3 albums that you think are like a must fucking listen to for people.
Exodus, Fabulous Disaster.
Love it. I'm so glad you said that, man. I've been on such an Exodus kick lately. I saw them last year on the Bay Area Strikes Back tour, man, with Testament and Death Angel, man. I love to see those bands still raging and still still rocking some of these younger bands under the table.
Yeah, Exodus, Fabulous Disaster is people always go on Bonded by Blood because it was their first album and it's really a good album. But I love Fabulous Disaster. Another really good one. You know which one has really grown on me through the years and it's become my favorite of them? My friends keep thinking I'm nuts, but Injustice for All, Metallica.
Yeah.
You know, when that came out, it was such a difference from you know, Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, and I liked it. But now, as an adult, there's something about it that fucking album is just.
It speaks to me a lot too, and I was 14 when it came out, man. So it was like my first concert too. So it holds a near and dear spot to me too. I always put it as my #1 Metallica album too. Would have been nice if they would have turned Jason's bass on a little louder, but
a little bit, yeah. But that's definitely a solid one on my list. That's another one I've been listening to lately. Oh, Entombed Wolverine Blues.
Oh, yeah.
What a fucking album that is, man. I mean, that's, you know, most of the hardcore bands today owe 2 albums. Like Hatebreed, if Sepultura, Chaos AD, and Entombed Wolverine Blues got together and had a baby, it would be Hatebreed.
Yeah.
So if you listen to Hatebreed, you got to listen to those other 2 albums because they're the granddaddies of what Hatebreed became. And I love Hatebreed, but man, that Wolverine Blues, I recently been listening. I've been finding my old cassettes, and I don't have a cassette player anymore, but it's inspired me to go listen to whole albums again because, you know, like I got playlists where, and we talked about Exodus earlier. Exodus Impact is Imminent. I have a playlist on Amazon that I made that has like the Lunatic Parade song on it, but that's the only song from that album that's on the playlist. I went back and listened to that album from top to bottom in order of what they did, and there's really you got to have a real fan appreciation of, you know, the fact that the artistry that a band puts together and decided this song is going to flow better after this song, after this song, after this song, and listen to it in that order that was meant to be. It's like watching a movie with different chapters in different order. You know, an album is the same thing to me, and
it makes it cohesive. It does.
Makes it cohesive. And I know the work of listening to an album and trying to put that together and picking out what songs to put in order. So I went through my old cassette bin. I found Sacred Reich, Surf Nicaragua. I found that Exodus album.
Shout out Sacred Reich. They're Arizona boys too.
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Great guys. Testament, The New Order was another one I listened to recently from top to bottom. You know, it's been cool to like listen to the actual whole album because there's so many songs on there that you forget about that are really good tracks. You know,
that's the way they were intended to be listened to too. Like the artist, literally sat down, as you said, and said, you know, here's the order, man. Like, you know, if they're going for some kind of a concept, man, this is how they want you to listen to it.
Yep. So I've been doing full albums like that lately, rather than just listening to my mix of songs that I liked. You know.
So because I always ask the boxers on here, like their Mount Rushmore of their all-time fighters, man, what's your Mount Rushmore of bands? You know, 4 bands up there, man, that are really just the pinnacle for you.
Sick of It All, I would say, is probably one of my favorite bands. Madball would be in that list. I would say Metallica's got to be on that list.
Yeah.
And I guess Anthrax. You know, those would have to be my top. I mean, if you said to start picking genres, I can go on and on. I mean,
right,
sure. Start picking hip hop, I go Public Enemy. I mean,
right.
There's, you know, I don't listen to one genre of music. I mean, I listen to everything from, you know, Paul Anka or Andy Williams to
I do too. Yeah,
to Deicide. You know, like I got no shame. I was just washing the patio earlier outside because in Arizona, when it rains, you have to wash the dirt off of everything.
Really?
Yeah, because we get the dust storms and the rain comes in and it throws so the whole house's backyard is covered in dirt. I had to hose everything. But I got this jam mix that I listen to. I call it my bike jams. When I ride my bicycle, I got my little speaker. And it went from like Inner Circle, Bad Boys to Clutch to Anthrax, Antisocial popped on. You know, it was such a variety.
You're all over the map.
It was all over the map. You know, that one song, I don't remember the name of the band. It's the only song I like by them, but you would know it as soon as I hum it. That dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know the name of the band, but I like that song. So that was in the mix, you know. It's such a big.
Hey, a band's going to be happy though, man, if they came up with even just a piece of music that's memorable and sticks in someone's head, though.
Oh, that riff is fucking awesome.
And I'm glad you brought Metallica up, man, because like I feel like for everything that they've done, and they're one of my favorite bands of all time too, man. People still love to get online and shit on them. They are got to be one of the most popular bands in the world that get shitted on the most.
People shit on things when they're jealous or they don't like to see other people's success. That's it. You know, I mean, how could anybody shit on Metallica? Sure, maybe some of the new Metallica songs are not the same songs that you heard on Master of Puppets. You know, but you got to evolve a little bit. I mean, sometimes when you hear some bands that are doing, and I love Slayer, you know, but Slayer got to be the same Slayer over and over to me.
Derivative, yeah.
It got to be too much of the same thing, and I like to see, you know, a little bit of variation, you know, between bands. So Metallica, I respect the fact that they're bouncing around a little bit in styles and doing things. And they got, you know, the newest album, there was 1 or 2 songs I really liked a lot. I just put those onto my mix, you know, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
It sucks though, man, because like you said, it'd be nice if they were getting their flowers a little bit more often. And not that they need it, you know, I mean, they're multimillionaires and all that stuff, man, but they kick down the doors for so many of these bands though. You know, I mean, it's really like a shame to see them getting like, you know, almost goofed on and almost made to be like a parody, man. Because from what I see, man, I don't know. And I guess opinions vary. I guess that, you know, that's what makes music so interesting. But I mean, I watch them and I still, I watch videos or shorts that pop up and of little snippets of them in concert. And I say, God, they still seem like they're kicking ass to fucking me or whatever, but you know that people got to start running down, you know, James's voice, Lars's drumming has been like a fucking like a thing that people have criticized for years.
I was listening.
I don't either.
Yeah, when I was outside today doing the patio, Sad But True came on my mix list.
Yeah.
And, I think his drumming on that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, listen, better drummer than me. What the
And I
fuck am
defy
I
anybody. And I defy anybody to do anything that they could do as well than 35 years ago. You know what I mean? So like everybody's voice is going to change. You're not going to be able to hit those same notes that you did.
Oh,
That you
no
once
way.
did. I mean, come on, man. We can't replicate that.
It's impossible unless there's an audio track that they're pretending to sing along to.
Yeah.
They're never going to be able to hit those notes. I mean, look at Vince Neil. You see all that footage of Motley Crue playing.
Yeah,
They put all the
you brought
different
that up. Where do you stand on that? Being a musician yourself, because bands like them and Kiss do take a lot of flack. Now, if you were putting your hard-earned money down to go see a show, like let's say you're going to see Kiss, and Paul Stanley isn't the Paul Stanley of 1977. Do you want to see the Kiss show and hear it really good, or are you like a traditionalist that says I want to be hearing the genuine article even if they suck? Do you mind backing tracks or like some or some help with the band?
I don't mind a little backing track. I mean, it's most hip hop artists have a backing track today.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw some video footage of Cardi B at a show where somebody did something, and I kind of made a video, a blows my mind video out of it because I didn't realize how much backing track she has. But she gets into like an argument with somebody and hits them with a microphone, and the song is still going, and her voice is still going. And I was like, wow, they really have a backing track on.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she's singing along to her song. I mean, I could play Creedence Clearwater on a radio and sing along, and is that cool? I mean,
right.
I don't know, but I like the fact that I'm still able to see bands that I want to see. So if that's the way it's got to be done, I mean, whatever.
Because Vince Neil and Paul Stanley, especially over this last year or two, they've really taken a whooping on social media. You know what I mean? For having lost their chops, so to speak, or whatever. You know what I mean? But
I just saw Frankie Valli.
Who's amazing, by the way. Shout out to him. Well into his 90s, still doing it.
He definitely has a little bit of a backing track going.
Yeah.
But it was one of the most fun shows I've been to in a long time. So I can't really shit on the backing track thing because I had such a good time. His band was so good. He was entertaining. He's 90 years old and he's still doing it. So,
Did you like the movie about the Four Seasons that Clint Eastwood made, Jersey Boys? I loved it.
Great. Yeah.
I
thought it was great. My grandfather's buried in the same cemetery as the character that what's his name played, Christopher Walken.
Oh, no kidding, really?
Yeah.
And now, so what was your biggest, because we talked about you're out in Arizona now, but you're originally a New Jersey guy, an East Coast guy. What was the biggest adjustment going from one coast out to the other?
Food.
Couldn't get the same pizza, right?
It's changed today.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, it was like, I tell people this all the time, it was like the end of Goodfellas when he says, now I want macaroni, I get egg noodles and ketchup.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like. And when I would tour, I would always bring back stuff. And I had friends that would like give orders of like, can you bring back one guy who loved Wise potato chips? So I would have to bring Wise potato chips to Arizona. Tudarosa tomatoes, Acento tomatoes, because all we had, the fancy brand here, was Progresso. That was about as fancy as it got. Now the delis started carrying stuff, but then even the delis would sell it for like $12 to $15 a jar because they knew they can get away with it.
Right.
I mean, that from much for a can of peeled tomatoes, $15, fucking nuts.
I know.
It's changed a lot today, but food was a big part, and then it's just people breaking my balls on my accent. I mean, that was like enough is enough already. Like I order coffee, like, you want coffee? Like, I didn't say it like that. Or I order a soda, and they say, you want a pop? I said, I call it soda, but whatever.
Me too. Yeah.
But you can break my balls with every. But it's just like, what exit? What exit you from? Fuck out of here already.
I always find that being from New York State, though, man, that people automatically want to know like what borough, because I'm closer to Syracuse, so I'm more upstate though. But I think people can't wrap their head around that there's other parts of New York other than just the actual city.
And people think New Jersey is Newark.
Yeah.
They see Newark, New Jersey, and they think that's New Jersey, when New Jersey is the fucking Garden State. Like where I lived as a kid, I could go deer hunting in the woods before school. I mean, it was farmland and wilderness and shit.
Right.
I didn't live in like fucking Brick City. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you must have got a kick out of when The Sopranos was on. Then there must have been lots of landmarks there that you must have recognized.
Oh yeah, malls that they went to, stores, highways, whatever. I mean, there was a lot of places that I definitely recognized.
What about Halston? What about Halston's, the restaurant he was in at the very end there?
I've never been there. I'm familiar with it, but
by the way, did you like the end of The Sopranos?
Not what
polarizing
happens.
Ending, very polarizing. I got a friend now at work that I've turned on to watching it, and she's in season 5, and there was only 6 seasons. And I told her, brace yourself and don't hate me because I turned you onto the show, but you might feel a certain type of way about the ending.
I like the ending now.
Yeah.
I like that we don't know. We don't need to know everything at all times.
Right.
I like the fact that, I mean, listen, if they killed Tony Soprano, everybody would go fucking nuts. If he went to jail for the rest of his life, what kind of an ending is that? You know what he did? He went and had fucking every day. It's just like another day, and that's it. I mean, a lot of people say he got killed because Bobby Bacala told that story. When you get shot, everything just goes black, and that's what he thinks, and that's the end of that. But I just think he went on another day, and that was it. And we're the ones that got killed.
Yeah, right.
It went black for. It went black for us. We got whacked. We got killed.
And as you say too, you know, I mean, you could almost come up like with you can play devil's advocate and play. It's almost like those choose your own ending stories, you know, back in the day. Maybe you think he got killed. Maybe you think he didn't get killed. Maybe you think somebody in that diner. You know what I mean? There was always big speculation on the guy in the in the members only jacket that went into the bathroom, came out and killed him. You know what I mean? Because obviously they made a big show about people coming in and out and him seeing people coming in and out of the restaurant.
I like the fan theory I liked the best was, I don't know if I don't remember the character's name, but he was one of Tony's guys and he inherited like a couple $1 million from a relative. And he wanted out and he wanted to move to Florida, and Tony wouldn't let him out. And he knew that the only way that he could get out was to fucking kill himself so his family could take off with the money.
Right.
I like the fan theory that it was his brother.
Because he did wear a members only jacket, and they made a point to point that out too.
Yep, and they made it like it was his brother or a relative of his, that because that guy killed himself because of Tony Soprano, that he went and got revenge on Tony for it.
Yeah,
and that would make sense because the mob would not hit Tony in front of his family like that, even though they did it to the other guy from New York, from Goodfellas, Frank
Leotardo. Phil Leotardo,
Leotardo,
and his head run over.
But I think we just got whacked. I mean, he's never going to tell anybody.
Right.
David Chase. He's got some documentary coming out, and I saw an interview with him on CBS Sunday Morning News like a week ago, and they asked him the question again, and he just went like, the hard question to answer. Like, motherfucker, you know the answer.
Right, you're right. If anybody knows, you know.
You mean to tell me you fucking wrote a show for 6 seasons that was so strategic and smart, and then you just phoned in the fucking ending? You know the ending. You know you're just not telling anybody.
Right. And then he even went back and kind of did like a prequel movie too.
Yeah, and I like that a lot too. I didn't like it as much the first time I saw it. 2 movies the first time I watched recently that really didn't do a whole lot for me, but when I watched it again, I really liked it. One was The Many Saints in Newark, and the other one was The Irishman. Right?
Yeah.
The Irishman. For whatever reason, to me, it just felt like it went on and on and on. But then I rewatched it a second time, and I'm like, okay, I see where Scorsese went with this ending, and it's not really carried on too long. And then I watched it a third time, and I'm like, I really fucking like this movie.
Yeah, like, it's good. It is.
It did, maybe because I was looking for that pace of Goodfellas or Casino, or Raging Bull, or Gangs in New York.
It was a little slower than those movies. It was.
It was, but you know what? The more I watched it, I respected it and liked it more. Same with The Many Saints in Newark. I mean, I really like that a lot more now. You know.
So what's going on with this Kickstarter with the book now? Like, tell people how they can get involved in that, like what you're looking for or whatever, how close you are to your goal, how the progress is going with the book, what you kind of need to cross that finish line.
Well, this is the book called Night of the GABAGHOUL.
Okay.
Little kid's book there. But it's written for adults in mind, as I said, I think earlier. Kickstarter is funded, so we hit our goal, but we got it till September 5th. I think the 5th is the last day.
Okay.
We did. It was the first time I've ever done a Kickstarter, so I set that goal bar a little lower than really what was needed, because if you don't hit your goal, it doesn't get funded. The book is done. It's already sent to the printer, so it's already in motion before Kickstarter even gives us any money.
Right.
I've already got the ball rolling. It's happening. So I set the goal a little lower just so we hit it. But we're about almost 6,000 right now. I'm hoping to get to about 7,000 before it ends to really kind of to get where we need to be, because we're printing books, shipping books. There's so many different cool things with it. So people can go on there. If you haven't used Kickstarter, it's a crowdfunding platform. You can buy different tiers for the book, so you can just donate money to the book if you wanted to without a reward, but that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
$5 gets you a digital copy of the book, so it's a PDF that you could download, which will ship out in December when we ship everybody's stuff in December.
Okay.
The other version is you get the PDF or a hardcover version of the book. The hardcover is signed by me and Mick Lambro, both of us in the book. It's beautiful. The hardcover is really nice. It's well laid out. I love it. And then that's the $20 tier. The $40 tier gets you the digital copy. It gets you the hardcover book, and it gets you the audio book. And I recorded one of those like kids audio books, like turn the page books. Remember in the 70s, you get the book. It came with the record.
It almost gave you like the little ding when you had to like turn the page.
Yeah, you hear the sound of Indiana Jones's whip.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I did one of those, and I brought in a couple friends that could do some good voices. I narrate the book, and I do the character, the Great Gabagool, which is me just doing a shitty version of Moe from The Simpsons. And then my wife did some voices because she did the kids' voices. She's got like a younger voice. A couple other friends. There's music, sound effects. It's fucking cool. So that you get as a download. So you get the book in the mail, the digital copy, and you'll get the download when we ship all that out, where you could download it to a phone or an iPad, and you could listen to it and turn the page of the book. Really cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then there's different add-ons. So like you could add a second book at a discounted price for $18, which we'll donate to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. So you can donate a book for a sick kid. There's other add-ons you can add on. The Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star, the 10th anniversary edition.
That's what I need.
Yeah, you can get the paperback or the hardcover version.
That's what
There's
I
a
need.
hardcover version too. And those all signed, they come signed. Both It Blows My Mind books are in there. There's a big bundle that gets you, both It Blows My Mind books, Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star, another book I did called The Belligerent Book of Movie Quotes, the audio book, everything all combined in one big bundle. We did a cool shirt that looks like the Ghostbusters logo, but it's the Gabagool. And instead of Ghostbusters, it says Gabagool. You can add the shirt, and there's a lot of cool stuff. And those add-ons help because they go on the back end to help us get higher on the goal. To do that. So it's fun. I mean, I had a good time making a kid's book. It's the first time I've done that, and when I tell you, it's like the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown meets. I actually have a sample that I printed in a soft cover, but it's like the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown meets. Twas the Night Before Christmas. Like it all rhymes. Like
that's cool. That's cool.
The clock had struck midnight. Troy slept all alone. Well, suddenly the room smelled like provolone. He jumped out of bed from a noise in the cellar. Was somebody eating his vinegar peppers? I mean, it's totally like Italian shit. My favorite page, though, in the book, he's the guy Troy, the character Troy, is tied up with fucking sausage links instead of rope, and he got mustaches, Italian ghost mustaches. It's really cool. It's a fun book. I'm excited to be able to do maybe different types of shows because I'll be in Tucson Comic Con this weekend. I do a lot of different things, but everything I have is usually books that are filled with cursing and bad words.
Right.
It's like my first step into a different direction, you know?
Well, and as I've seen you say in other interviews too, man, you know, and I've talked to you offline. I've had a couple of detached retina surgeries, so sometimes I really, really love the fact that audiobooks exist. You know what I mean? But you know, as you said in other interviews, the "Don't Punch a Rock Star" really needs to be seen. You know, because it's emails, it's you know, it's a lot of grief and feedback that you got, and it's not really something you can really like probably like do in an audio form. It would be tough.
It would lose it would be lackluster. I mean,
Yeah,
the good thing about the funny thing about the "Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star" book is here I am telling stories of how I got into music, touring, playing in Northside Kings, Cause for Alarm, funny stories about touring, and then mixed in, you know, there's the 2 paragraphs, and then there'll be a hate mail with somebody's name, with
right.
their email or whatever mixed into the mix. It doesn't read well like that. I can't read the paragraph and then read the hate mail. So,
Right.
you know, it just didn't. I tried recording it and on my phone and just giving it a shot. And it just sounded like shit. So I was like, fuck it. That's
Is there one that sticks out in your head, man, that maybe you could share with us, man? Like, what was one of the more scathing things that someone said to you after the punch heard around the world?
Well, there's a lot of horrible things. But
I'm sure.
My favorite hate mail of all of them was this dude sent me a message, and he wrote, "Y'all a bunch of fat fucks, fat pieces of shit. If I could get out of this wheelchair, I'd strangle your fat necks."
Wow.
And I found it so amazing that he doesn't know me. He's sending me an email, and he's telling me that he's in a wheelchair. Like, why would you even say that? I don't know what you look like. I don't know who you are.
Right.
I don't know what your life is. And you know, you kind of diss yourself in the email a little bit. Not that being in a wheelchair is a diss, but you know, I just was like so taken back by that one. Like, wow, he's really mad at me. You know, like he's pissed.
And that wasn't signed by Glenn Danzig's father, was it?
There was another one where a guy said something about like, you guys are like Bananarama minus the good stuff or something crazy. It didn't even make sense. One where a guy said, you ought to try that shit with Yngwie Malmsteen. He'll fuck you up. You know, like, why would you mention Yngwie Malmsteen?
Why would well, even more importantly, why would Yngwie Malmsteen, does Yngwie Malmsteen have some kind of hidden fucking martial arts knowledge or something? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but I found.
But if he does, he's kept it under wraps because obviously everybody knows him as a fantastic shredder and amazing guitar player. You know, I've heard my share of stories where, you know, maybe not the greatest guy in the world personality wise or whatever, but I mean, you know, you can hear that about just about anybody though. You know, I mean, people have opinions, so I don't want to judge the guy because I don't know him or whatever. But I certainly have never, you know, like David Lee Roth, obviously, man, he's been pretty public about his martial arts, you know, studying over the years. And obviously we've seen all the high kicks in the Van Halen videos and everything.
Splits in the air and shit.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
Van Damme chair splits without the chair. I mean,
right. It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I want to do, I think next year I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and I'm going to do one of those daily calendars, you know, like the ones my friend Jay, who did helped me do the layout, the cover of the book, and he helps with pretty much all my book stuff. He gave me this here. This is like one of those, you know, those daily calendars.
Yeah.
It's got every page. You can rip out the page. He gave me this because he worked on this Ninja Turtle one somewhere.
Yeah.
There's some stuff he colored in on it. But I want to do a daily calendar with hate mail every day.
That's cool. That's a cool idea. Now, do you feel like there'll be more? You know, have you gotten bit by the children's book bug? Do you feel like there'll be more children's books going on in the future? Like I know you talked about, you know, backtracking and going back and writing more, you know, biographical type stuff. You know, with a lot more road stories and life stories. But are there more children's books in the future?
If this book does good, and it's doing okay so far with the Kickstarter, I mean, I can't complain. If it does good, you know, in the long run, after we print books and everything else, I have another idea for another story for the character, the Great Gabagool already. A Christmas book.
Okay.
And maybe continue with the Great Gabagool in a series of kids' books with him. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I got a lot of different ideas and different things, and some projects with some other friends that I've been kind of kicking around that I may do. A funny book on mustaches, like celebrity actors and wrestlers
Yeah.
and everything about
Yeah.
their mustache and the type of mustache and that it is. And I wrote this funny treatment up for it that's really good. So almost like a magazine format. So we'll see. I'm always coming up with stuff, and I'm when I'm working on something, I'm working on 15 fucking things at a time. Like before we buckle down on this kid's book, I've been working on a book on the Rodney Dangerfield movie Easy Money.
Okay.
And I wanted to do like kind of a making of behind the scenes book, and I actually interviewed the girl who plays his wife in Easy Money. Candice Azaria. I interviewed, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but I interviewed a few different people from the movie already to get insight on it.
Yeah.
We'll see. I started it, and then I got into this, and I got a little bored of it, and I jumped back into that, and then I'll get back to this and that. I'm like a fucking bouncy ball, you know.
But it always seems like, but it always seems like you're able to bounce to one creative endeavor to another, though. Like, so you don't feel like you're getting short on creativity, though. You still feel creatively inspired.
I got so many ideas. Yeah, the ideas for things that I want to do is through the roof. Time is not.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Thing. I mean, I work, like most people, I work a full-time job. I'm married. So, in between working a full-time job, I got to spend some time with my wife as well.
Yeah,
it's a lot of juggling to try to get stuff done. I mean, me and Mick this year, we released It Blows My Mind Book 2 and this kid's book. We did 2 books back to back this year.
Yeah, and It Blows My Mind Part 2 is the Gospel According to Carmine, and I have to ask, who is Carmine?
Carmine is the character from both from the original Blows My Mind book as well.
Okay.
He's kind of like the guy he's basically an exaggerated version of me.
Okay.
Because everything in the Blows My Mind books is stuff that I was annoyed by that I wrote down, but for humor purposes, completely exaggerated the thought process of what I was upset about. I don't have one on my desk, but it's Carmine's me, but more exaggerated, and he's the same as the Great Gabagool. He's the same character. So in this book, this guy Troy, he's in both It Blows My Mind books. He's kind of a dick in the book. This character, all the characters really, Butchie, this plumber guy Butchie, he's in Blows My Mind book 2. He did say on his hat says plug your hole, as a plumber, but we took that out. And we took the cigar out. We made it
kid friendly.
We made it kid friendly, Yeah. But there's some cool little Easter eggs in here. Like, I haven't really told so many people this, so I'll tell you this, but some of the stores in the background, like this here, is Capuccio's Bakery. That's Vinny Stigma's last name.
Yes, who just wrote a book himself, by the way.
Yes, him and Howie Abrams.
And I'm hoping to God that there's an audio version, because Vinny, a lot like you, is one of those guys that has a gift for gab. I haven't seen that there's been one announced yet, man, but Vinny can spin a yarn though too.
He's recording an audio. He is
good.
I think he's recording it now. Howie Abrams is a guy to get on the show. You should definitely get him on.
I will.
Himself. I mean, he worked at Roadrunner for years. He did the Sick of It All book. He did a book on Bad Brains. He did a really cool book on medalists that I love.
Yeah. I love the Sick of It All book. I love the Sick of It All book because I got the audio version, and the brothers kind of go back and forth narrating that.
Yeah. It's great. Howie's a good guy, and Vinny's book is going to be like no book you've ever seen. It goes from Vinny telling stories to Vinny's recipes to a comic book in the middle of it.
Yeah.
There's so much shit in this book. You're going to love it. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. And Vinny's one of those guys, too, that's just, for people that don't know, Vinny Stigma, the guitar player for Agnostic Front, just a staple, a pioneer in the hardcore world.
He makes me look like a mute.
Yeah. And a talker, and a guy with probably a wealth of great stories, much like yourself. I mean, he's one of those guys that I'm sure could, if it could chew your ear off for fucking, who knows? Who knows how long it would take for Vinny Stigma to get to the end of all of his stories. I don't know if there's enough volumes of books.
He's such a good guy, too.
He's seen it all.
that whole band, they're probably the greatest guys. When I did my book signing in New York, they came, they hung the whole fucking time, and then we all went out to eat together, went for dinner and stuff. I love Vinny, Gallo, Roger. I mean, they're all great guys.
Yeah, I've tried to get them on my podcast. Unfortunately, man, I know Roger and Vinny are busy. I have had Craig on. I have had Danny, their new drummer, on, though. All great guys. All of them are awesome.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they are the greatest hardcore band of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, get them on. I'd love to hear more about this book and the process of writing a book with Vinny Stigma.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And he's got a country album coming out too. That's another thing.
And he also did it. And I remember on YouTube, he also had like a mob movie too.
Yeah, called New York Blood.
Yeah.
Northside Kings has a song I think it's in the credits for that movie. We donated a song for that. But Vinny just did a country album too. It's called The Outlaw Vinny Stigma.
Oh, that's awesome.
With this dude from Arizona. He's not from Arizona originally, but Chip is his name. Chip Hanna. Chip played in drums for the U.S. Bombs, and he's played with a lot of other bands. But he plays up a lot in like Prescott, Arizona. He used to do the trail, the train to the Grand Canyon, where he plays guitar and sings folk songs. And he brought Vinny out, and they recorded this country album together. And I heard we went out to eat when he was here, and I heard like 3 or 4 of the songs off it. It's fucking cool. It's really.
And by the way.
It's like Dropkick Murphys minus the punk aspect,
And by the way, just to prove that even though you didn't prepare a quiz or a test, I know about Maytag, I know about Brooklyn Boobs, I know about the Face, I know about everything. I know it all. I got all the dirt on you, Danny. I got all of it. It's all up here.
We changed so many people's names, like Joe. Did I say Joey the Face? I think I called him in the book. Yeah. But his name is really Richie.
Yeah.
Even Frank's Chicken House, I think I called it Tank's Chicken House. Some of the names, I'm glad I changed some of the people's names because like that guy I talked about with the paintball guns, with the Guido guy used to work out in his backyard to Good Vibration. His friends, Marky Mark song.
I even remember, I was gonna say, I even remember the song he was working out to. I remember the song that you said when you were going up to Brooklyn, Boobs, the song that was playing. It was like, what was it, Mac 10 or something, or like?
I think so. Yeah.
You guys were strutting up to the party.
That dude died. I found out that guy died. The guy, the paintball guy. So I'm glad I changed his name in the book because that would have been a shitty way to talk about a guy, But even like some of the guys in that book, like. You've listened to it so much, so like I talk about the Tommy DeFazio, who I went to fight him. He came to my house and I painted myself like Arnold and Commando with the camo stripes. I mean, I'm friends with him today. I just spoke to him like a month ago.
I think even that guy that was hanging you off the bridge there, man, Scott. You talked about him being a good friend of yours.
Yeah. Scott, me and Scott became friends in school though. Me and Tommy weren't friends till after school. We knew each other. We kind of were like rivals. And then I was on tour and I was in my old neighborhood in Jersey. And we went to a bar by my old house and he was at the bar and we sat down and we had drinks and it was like, boom, totally pals. Like that's the difference of where you're at with things in school versus where you are as an adult,
So how do people find their way to this Kickstarter? Is there a link? Is there something for people that don't know how Kickstarter works? Do you have a link on your page, or what's the best way to find out?
I have links on everything. If you can't find it, it's because you don't want to find it.
Okay.
If you go to DannyMarianino.com, it's right on my website. If you go to Google and put Kickstarter, Night of the Gabagool, it comes up. If you go to my Instagram page, whether it's my page, the Night of the Gabagool Instagram, the It Blows My Mind Instagram, TikTok. If you looked at Night of the Gabagool or It Blows My Mind, I got the links on everything. So it'll take you right to it, and then you could pledge right on the page there. I mean, it's go right to the Kickstarter. So
you got to be dead from the neck up if you can't fucking find it.
If you can't find, I mean, listen, I did a humongous campaign for this book. I went and met with friends. My friend Jay Photos, he's done about 7 or 8 really successful Kickstarters. Does his own comic book stuff, and I went and met with another guy, Brian Polito, who he has a Lady Death comic. He did Evil Ernie back in the day. I had a nice meeting with him, and he gave me a whole layout of ideas. And I mean, I literally have a notebook with an action plan of what I'm going to post and how I'm going to post every day. And I pre-made videos, a ton of content, and then I've really been on it. And that's the only way to have a successful Kickstarter. I can't just put it up there and hope the masses are going to come and go, oh,
right.
You know, I mean, money's tight for everybody today.
It is.
You know, I don't got to tell you that. And, you know, I really put a lot of work into it on purpose to make sure that it was successful. And so far, it's been successful. And the cool thing is, you know, once we hit different spend tiers, we give out these things called stretch goals. So one of the stretch goals, if we hit 4,000, everybody got garbage pail kits from my own collection that are imported from Italy.
Okay.
So Pops made garbage pail kits around the world. They're so fucking crazy too. This one I took out of the list because it looks like a big black dick.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
I'm not going to include this one in anybody's stuff, but it's called Scorpions is the name.
Yeah.
And you know, these are made by Tops in the 80s.
Yeah.
So everybody gets Italian garbage pail kits when we hit the 4,000 mark. We hit it. The next mark was 5,000. We hit that tier with pledges. Everybody gets a bookmark. And we made this really cool knockoff of the Snoopy Scholastic bookmark from the 80s where he says, I love to read, but it's the Gabagool.
Right.
$6,000, which we're $200 away from, less than 200 right now. I expect us to hit that for sure. Everybody will get a 6x9 poster that we made that's a knockoff of the original Night of the Living Dead poster. But it says Night of the Gabagool, and it looks just like the Night of the Living Dead with all the characters from our book. And then if we hit 7,000, I got a Garfield shirt on, but basically it's this Garfield design he's red and it's the Gabagool's head, and it just says Gabagool on the sticker. So
people that have contributed, when will all this stuff go out? When will people all receive their stuff?
December, and our goal is before Christmas.
Okay.
That's why I've already sent it to the printer instead of me waiting for Kickstarter to pay me. Because once the Kickstarter campaign ends on September 5th, that's when they start to collect everybody's funds. They don't. If you go on there right now, but you want to wait till your next paycheck, doesn't make a difference. You pledge, they're not going to charge you till September 5th anyway. Right. And by the time I send out the backer surveys to everybody to get their addresses to make sure everything's up to date and all good, I don't expect to get paid really from Kickstarter until probably October. Right. So I pre-ordered the books already regardless because I want to be able to at least get the people in the U.S. their books before Christmas.
Right.
And if you buy the shirt, I'm sending that separately. That'll come before Halloween because you got to have that before Halloween. So that's a definite. So I'm going to mail those earlier. But yeah, I mean that's the goal. So holidays, if you're looking to get a gift to give to somebody, you know, I've been telling my friends this. Like some of them are like, you know, hey man, the book looks really cool, but I don't have kids. I'm like, well, do you have a niece or a nephew? Do you have you have a friend? I mean, fuck. Even if you don't want the book for yourself, buy the book and let me know, and I'll donate your copy to the Children's Hospital.
Right.
You know, but you know, as a friend, you know, and a guy who likes my friend's stuff, I'm always backing shit that I don't want all the time.
Right.
People, you know, I'm telling some of my friends, like my good buddies that haven't done it yet, I'm like, you fucking buy this book. I'm never gonna forget it because this is a Kickstarter campaign. We got it. It's pre-order. Everything's funded. I gotta pay for all this shit in advance. You know, and listen, if you don't want the book, I'll do a nice thing with it. You know, I'll donate it because I'm gonna bring a stack of books to the Children's Hospital regardless. We have sold some of those add-ons, which is cool. But I'm still going to bring books to them because I did a whole lot of research on it in the Children's Hospital, and they love toys and they love stuffed animals, but some of those kids are so sick they can't play with a toy. They can't play with a stuffed animal.
Right.
They're laying in a bed. They can't move a transformer and fucking make Optimus Prime into a truck. Right. So the books keep the parents engaged with the kids. It keeps relatives engaged. They read them the book. They show them the pictures. They're talking to the kid. They're taking the kid's mind off of things. It's keeping them engaged. So books are really important for children that are sick.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be able to do something and give some books back. I mean, that's really another big part of this for me. There's a lot of my friends I've done GoFundMe's for and this shit and that shit, and help this guy pay some rent because he fucking lost his job.
Yeah,
it's just like, listen, motherfucker, if I lost my job, I'd figure out another. I'd be working at a fucking gas station till I got enough, till I got the job I wanted. I wouldn't be sitting on my hands.
Right.
But I end up helping those people anyway. So
right.
Because I'm a sucker for that. But I this way here, this is me giving back something that I wanted to do, and kids deserve it more than fucking anybody,
Yeah, I agree. And as a grandfather, I appreciate what you're doing too. I'll be going on after this interview. I'm gonna go out and pick out. I got to pick out that package with "Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star" because I need that anniversary edition.
Yeah, so that'll be an add-on, and you could either add the soft cover version or the hardcover version.
Okay.
I would recommend the hardcover version. It's $30.
Okay.
It's a little bit more money to print that book, but it's so cool on a hardcover. I mean, it's awesome. And the new version, the 10th anniversary edition, it's now with 12% more hate mail.
I saw it, yes.
I updated a lot of it. I went in, I changed the tone, because when I originally wrote that book, I was fucking furious from the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Hate mail and everything else. And then after like a year or two, I'm like, you know what? I should be laughing at this a little bit more than I am. Yeah. So I actually went in and kind of redid it. I did it with a really cool music publisher called DeWolf Publishing.
Yeah.
They're based out of Pennsylvania. They're based out of Pennsylvania. They did a really cool book on city gardens, which was a kind of a New Jersey main staple. It was like the CBGBs in New Jersey back in the day. And they did a book on that, and then they started branching out and doing other people's books. They did a book for the drummer of Adrenaline OD, the Channel 3, another old punk band. They did that guy's book, Mike. Really cool stuff. This one I just got off of them. I think they licensed. It's an old catalog and zine. Toxic Shock
cool.
Records.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a really fun book. So I got that off of them. They're cool. They're a cool publisher, and I can add that to my stuff because I just get the inventory off of them. So.
Well, I wish you a lot of luck with it, man. I'm excited, man, and I always appreciate you coming on here, man, and getting a chance to chop it up with you, man. I love what you do, man. You keep me entertained every fucking night when I go to sleep, man. It's your voice most of the time.
Oh boy, I don't know. You get fresh over there.
Yeah. But it's been great talking to you, man. I really appreciate it, man. And
I appreciate you having me on. Me and you could talk like fucking 2 days straight. So
I know.
I always have a good time with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I know you got the Kickstarter going, man. I'll get this episode up for you tomorrow, man. And then I'll send you the link and share it around, man.
I will for sure.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Appreciate you, Danny. Thanks, man. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Got it. Go to see you Sunday. Go make some macaroni.
You too, buddy. Talk to you soon, man. Later. Bye-bye. There he goes, folks. That's my pal, Danny Marianino, man. You might know him if you're a hardcore fan from Northside Kings. The man is a storyteller, raconteur, or recanter, however you want to say that. He will regale you with some amazing stories, spoken word artist, hardcore vocalist, author, and now children's author. I don't want to make sure that the two are not mutually exclusive. Written some amazing books. One of my personal favorites is a book called To Make Matters Worse. Very self-deprecating humor about his upbringing, his childhood, his time on the road, and in his various bands. Also, he's got It Blows My Mind, Part 1 and Part 2, where he elaborates on some of his pet peeves and things that drive him crazy about the world. You got other books out there, as you heard him mention, books about films and movie quotes and this and that or whatever. The new venture is Night of the GABAGHOUL, which is going to be, as he said, a very fun children's book, his first foray into children's books. I'm really looking forward to it. Go check out the Kickstarter and support him. He's doing a great thing, man. And the most important thing he's doing that my kids never tapped into completely when they were young, getting kids to read and enjoy stories. I was a voracious reader as a kid. So was my wife. We've carried that on into adulthood. Reading is just such a pivotal part of growth and learning and developing who you are as a person. And, you know, I can't say enough what reading has done for me, man. I'm so glad he's coming out with a children's book. He's just the guy to do it, man. Just the guy to narrate the audio version of it. Just a gifted, natural storyteller, as you can see with our easy conversation there, man. One of the best, man. Danny Marianino. Always appreciate him coming on, man. Had him on my other podcast and having him on this one because it being a boxing podcast and me covering all things boxing and hard hitting. Danny's music not only hits hard, but he also punched Glenn Danzig pretty hard. So that was a great moment too. Famously wrote a book about that called Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star. Got into a squabble with the great, I guess if you want to call him that, if that's your scene, the great Glenn Danzig of musical fame, i.e. the Misfits and Danzig, and got into a dispute which Danny was in the right and was pushed first by all 5'3" of Glenn Danzig, big muscular jacked Glenn Danzig that can't put his hands down at his side, shoving on people and getting the business end of a fist, as for well he should. And that turned into a great book. So everything Danny touches turns to gold. It's super entertaining, man. It's super fun. You know, his humor is just self-deprecating. He'll point the funny end of the stick at himself, man, and, you know, poke fun at himself, man. As evidenced by To Make Matters Worse, which is my favorite book, which I implore people to go out and listen to that. The audio version of it is amazing and hilarious, and it'll just make you laugh out loud. And keep an eye out for Night of the GABAGHOUL. Go find out about the Kickstarter, donate, get yourself a package. You know, grab a book for your kids, your grandkids, as he said, your niece, your nephew, your friend's kid. You know, donate the book as he suggested. You know, there's kids out there in children's hospitals or you know, kids that just need some kind of a distraction from whatever they might be going through. And if Danny's touched it and blessed it, man, it's going to be one hell of a fucking fun ride. So I implore people to go out and do it, man. And always a big thank you to Danny Marianino. I love having him on. Remember, folks, like and follow us on Facebook, and like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel, Off the Couch Boxing, always providing you the best conversations. This is where people come to chop it up, man. We always have a blast with our guests on here, man. Today was no different. Thank you so much, Danny. And remember, if you want to be a champion, you got to roll with the champs.